collective morale is low. But I think that goes across the board with the NHS, that people have been working now for 10 months full on, and it's tiring, it's exhausting.
And what about people's behaviour, which you've alluded to?
I mean, the wearing of masks I find quite amusing when people are wearing them below their noses as mouth shields, or even just around their chins. I would like to say to people, please wear them over your noses and your mouths. We are trying to protect each other.
And when you hear the false stories about this all being nonsense and hospitals are empty and this going on, I mean, what do you say to that?
I think if you live it, you understand it, and if you've seen it, I mean, I've seen patients die of COVID. I've got friends that have lost relatives. So this isn't something that's happening in another world. It's happening here, and it's real.
Well, thank you for what you do, Julia. Thank you for calling in. I'm not going out, says Katie, but I'll be writing to my MP to ask for pay rises. I've been shielding since February. I know my consultants want us to be local to the government, not on the doorstep. Sarah in Gloucester, I'm not going to club. It's too cold. I'll make a donation to NHS charities each Thursday at 8. I hope it helps. Let's hear from Andrew in Stevenage. Hi, Andrew. What are you going to be doing at 8?
I'm actually en route at the moment. I'm a delivery driver. I'm delivering groceries.
Am I keeping you from work?
And I'm taking my break right now.
Okay, well, thanks for calling in during your break. What is, you must have experienced, you must have heard and seen the clap for carers when you were out and about last March.
Yeah, well, I started this job. I'm normally a consultant working in IT, but I'm a delivery driver. So I actually started this role the day of lockdown. So this is my new career, as it were. Because Brexit kind of put a spanner in my IT work. So the first couple of weeks were really quite nice, actually. Quite proud. People were actually looking out for delivery drivers and key workers and waving at us. The last couple of weeks of it, though, obviously, people were just chatting to their neighbours in the street, and it became a vector for the transmission of the disease. And I worry
violence, if he tears the Constitution to shreds, but if he gets away with it.
I don't know that he gets away with it. It's just Donald is like a petulant child. You know, sometimes you give them attention every time they say cry fire, or you simply put them in a corner and make sure they don't burn the whole house down. And that's kind of what I think that lawmakers have resolved to do, is just kind of put Donald Trump in a corner and just make sure he doesn't do any further damage.
From your knowledge of him, what's his temper like?
I've been on the receiving end of Donald Trump's temper quite often in the last 17 years that I've known him, and it can be quite explosive. I talked to a friend in the West Wing, one of my former colleagues that I served with, who said that it was just a very toxic environment right now in the West Wing, and that she was counting down every moment until she could in fact leave office. She hasn't been successful with finding another job because no one wants to hire these appointees because they deem them as toxic. So what she's observed of the president is him acting very bizarre, very strange, and very obsessed with trying somehow to remain in office even after the 20th of January.
Do you think, as I've heard some people suggest, that he truly believes he won the election, that he truly in his heart and head believes there was a fraud on a massive scale? Or is he well, let's not run down the possible explanations for that behaviour, but do you think he buys it?
He's certainly in the middle of a psychotic episode. There's no question he is grappling with reality. And in Donald Trump's reality, he does believe that he won the election.
If he is in the middle of a psychotic episode, isn't it incumbent upon Mike Pence to get him out?
Yes, but Mike Pence hasn't really shown much of a backbone in the last 4 years. Are we to expect him to show a backbone in the last 13 days?
Well, some people have said he showed a bit of backbone yesterday.
It's too little, too late.
Why did you want to work with Donald Trump?
You know, any opportunity that you get to serve your country, I think it's important. At the time that Donald called me in 2015, we didn't know each other by that point, 14, 15 years. We had really struck up a friendship after the first season of The Apprentice, which aired in 2004, so I met Donald Trump in 2003. I had known him for quite a long time. When your president, or when your friend calls you and say, I'm going to run for president, you know, at first, like everybody else, I was skeptical, but I was one of the few people in his orbit who had served in the White House before. As you know, I served for Vice President Al Gore and served as Deputy Assistant Director of Presidential Personnel for Bill Clinton. And so I was one of the few people that he knew who could advise him. And what an unlikely path he took to the White House. No one thought he would win. I certainly was skeptical, but certainly was there to help advise him as I had done to previous presidents. So it wasn't unusual for me to do that. What was unusual, though, was once we got into the White House and just really seeing how unprepared and unequipped Donald Trump was for this role.
You didn't think that he was unprepared and ill-equipped until he got the job?
Well, no, because I had watched George W. Bush kind of make it through his presidency. I mean, let's be clear that Donald wasn't certainly the lowest bar for president. And if you are a competent, educated adult, I think that you can assume the presidency because there were so many safeguards in place. And as long as you choose advisors, many of whom are so much better and more experienced than you, the country can kind of make it through 4 years. But Donald Trump got in the way of success for his administration. Oftentimes, he sabotaged his own teammates. And so what we saw was really Donald Trump, the flawed president, the flawed human being, and the flawed leader.
What do you think his achievements in office have been?
I know the long list of things that he will certainly spout as an achievement. You know, the tax bill, of course, funding for historically black colleges and universities, and certainly prison reform. that he had.
Do you sometimes wake up in the night and think, to some degree, I enabled him?
Well, I'd like to think that little old me had the ability to run the country and control the president, but I'm just a small piece of this puzzle. There were so many of us who actually went into this administration thinking that we could make a change, thinking that we could make a difference, thinking that we could help be a part of the solution. You know, you would call us a little naive if you want to, but we had a duty to make sure that Donald Trump did the least amount of damage in his role as president, and I took that quite seriously. And, you know, I think that Donald Trump, even at this moment, he will hopefully look back and say that in his failures, maybe he'll learn something. But for us, advisors, appointees, military officials, and generals who are part of this administration, I think we all need to reflect and examine our role in this whole thing.
Thank you for talking to us. We appreciate it. Omarosa Newman, broadcaster and former senior advisor to President Donald Trump, was standing by. Forgive me for repeating myself. We're now standing by for Joe Biden. Nancy Pelosi, we don't care. But we do have Simon Marks. Simon, are you there?
I am indeed, Eddie. We've got more news that has broken here just in the last few minutes. Donald Trump has lost his first cabinet secretary, Elaine Chao. She is the transportation secretary, and relevantly, she is the wife of Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the United States Senate. She is throwing in the towel and resigning. Now, this has a couple of different implications. First of all, Elaine Chao has steadfastly stood by President Trump through years of nonsense. She was actually standing next to him when he articulated the view that some of those white supremacists who were marauding and rampaging through the streets of Charlottesville, Virginia, were very fine people. She stayed with him in government after that, but this apparently is the final straw, and she is getting out. That would suggest that there must be other members of the cabinet who are considering their positions, and at a certain point, Donald Trump is going to find, if this continues, that he's got so many vacancies inside the White House. We already know of National Security Council officials that have quit, members of the White House press and communications department. I mean, how on earth does he fill those positions with 13 days left? At a certain point, it's not going to be, there won't be a quorum of staff at the White House to conduct daily operations. However, Elaine Chao's departure from the cabinet is also a blow to those people hoping to see Vice President Mike Pence enact the 25th Amendment, because in order to do that, he needs the support of a majority of cabinet members, and if cabinet members are beginning to leave the building, there won't be a majority of them to recruit even if he wanted to. So that suggests that this suggestion by Charles Schumer, the Democrats' leader in the Senate, that Mike Pence needs to go forward with the 25th Amendment may be dead on arrival now, and that increases the likelihood that Democrats in the House of Representatives will reconvene the chamber and move immediately to impeach Donald Trump for a second time. So that's the latest that we have in terms of the composition of Donald Trump's government. We reported earlier that he's obviously temporarily barred from Twitter at the moment, but now indefinitely banned from Facebook and Instagram. We've also discovered within the last hour that you can't even go and buy a Make America Great Again hat or t-shirt. And I know, Eddie, you were about to dive immediately into that particular well, because Shopify, the third-party provider that Donald Trump uses to run his merchandise operation and to fulfill orders, has pulled the Trump store down. So you can't even get online now and buy Trump merchandise, which will hit the president in the pocket. And if we know one thing about Donald Trump, he cares quite a lot about the pocket, and so that is another blow to the Trump presidency as a direct result of his incitement of those conspiracy theory believers yesterday to go up to Capitol Hill and invade the building.
Simon Marks, live in Washington. We